Kate and Ryan Cole arrive at the quaint cabin in the woods that they've rented. They get the door open and survey the inside of the cabin in awe. Kate is impressed, that is, until she's startled by a mouse running across the kitchen counter. Ryan soothes her, reassuring her the rodent is harmless, and heads outside to grab the bags. Kate tries to build a fire to warm them but can't seem to get the log lit. Ryan returns with the bags, just in time to help her, realizing that she needs to use more kindling. They start the fire together and share a kiss in front of the crackling logs, taking the chill off their bones. As Ryan pours them some soup for dinner, Kate admits she finds the cabin adorable, and Ryan's surprised that she'd admit to liking it after being so hesitant about it at first. Here, in this cabin, it's just the two of them, as though it's like their own little world. They drink wine after dinner, cuddling and laughing together. Kate teases him, luring him into bed. As he follows after her with a smug smirk, crawling into the bed alongside her, Kate whispers to him to tell her a poem. Kate wakes the next morning, exuberant and disheveled, and Ryan, cocky as he is, can't help but tease her about how she looks. He's just finished hanging the poster for his best-selling novel, adjusting the angle a bit, and Kate wonders if the book is as good as the poster looks. Ryan shrugs, so they keep telling him. Kate gives Ryan a smooch, running off to take a shower. Ryan zones into his computer, deeply focused on the screen. Kate enters the kitchen after getting dressed to find a pan on the stove, its contents burning to a crisp inside. She rushes to turn off the stove, calling out to Ryan immediately but getting no answer until she walks over to his study, startling him. Kate mentions he forgot something on the stove and he apologizes, claiming he'd been so focused on work that it slipped his mind. Kate nods, forgiving him and offering to make pancakes while suggesting he go take a shower to wake himself up. Ryan agrees, but after Kate leaves, he looks a little out of it. Ryan joins Kate at the table, remarking how his facial hair is growing thanks to him forgetting his shaving cream at home. Kate notes Ryan seems to be forgetting a lot lately, and they both figure he should take some vitamins for it. As Kate serves him breakfast, he's confused, wondering what happened to the pancakes they were supposed to have. Kate reveals she was going to make them, but it seems their mousy friend chewed through the box and their mix was not supposed to have chocolate chips. Ryan shrugs, grateful for any food Kate serves. As they eat, he asks what she'd like to do today. Kate is concerned about his schedule. He is here to work, technically, but Ryan claims one needs to ease into a novel and he's done enough for the day. Snatching his plate from him, Kate giddily announces she wants to go for a walk, much to Ryan's confusion. Ryan lags behind during their walk and Kate goads him, trying to get him to be more enthusiastic about their outing. She pulls Ryan close, pointing out the sky and trees, trying to remind him that he writes about these things. Ryan dryly claims all he sees is a forest. Kate rolls her eyes, pulling him along. Despite all his complaints, Ryan enjoys the walk. Kate's playful nature brings the lighter side out of him, and the two look like children as they run through the forest, play in piles of dead leaves, and climb trees. Kate checks on Ryan, but he's unhappy with his progress. He's only written 2 paragraphs in the space of 2 weeks. Kate sits beside him to comfort him, and he warns her to be careful next to his precious, antique typewriter, previously owned by famous writer F. Scott Fitzgerald. Kate rolls her eyes. How could she not be careful with his muse? Ryan argues Kate is his muse, not the typewriter. Kate tries cheering him up with an anecdote about the time James Joyce was visited by one of his friends. James' friend had asked him how the writing was going, and James exclaimed how terrible it was. He'd only written 7 words. His friend commended him, saying 7 was quite good, and James claimed he knew this, but he couldn't decide what order the words went in. Kate giggles at her own story, though Ryan doesn't get it. Kate explains 2 paragraphs are fine, provided they're brilliant and in the right order. Ryan seems only partially relieved by that. He wonders if Kate still intends on going into town today. Kate absolutely is. They need mousetraps or they'll soon have to start hunting and gathering. Ryan hands her a list of items to pick up for him. Kate reads through the list of curious names: coenzyme Q10, ginkgo biloba extract, B6, B12, and is visibly confused. Ryan explains their compounds that should help with memory. Kate wonders if she should be concerned, but Ryan assures her he's just been having a little trouble remembering things here and there, like the character names, because they're all new. He thinks boosting his memory may help the writing go faster. Kate agrees, claiming she'll head out after she finishes translating a few more pages of her assignment. Kate returns from her trip to town to find Ryan prostrate on the couch. She wonders why he didn't respond when she called out to him, and he grumbles a thought about being a monster. Ryan expresses to her that once, when he walked through the forest, he'd be flooded with ideas as if they ran up to meet him, but now, he can't find them, and the harder he looks, the further they seem to burrow. Kate wonders how drunk he is, but upon checking the bottle next to him, finds it's not even open. Ryan suggests they get drunk together, wanting to just forget about the bad thoughts, and Kate acquiesces. Ryan wakes, chipper the next morning, and expresses to Kate how much better he feels about writing today as he takes the vitamins she bought. Kate asks him if he's out of the pool, their personal code for his dark place, and he affirms. He grabs his tea, rushing off to his computer to write, and Kate calls after him to eat, chasing him down with a slice of toast. Kate checks on Ryan when he suddenly suggests they have her family over for Thanksgiving. Kate is apprehensive, knowing Ryan doesn't particularly like her family or having people around. Ryan admits it's nothing personal to her family, it's people in general. He doesn't enjoy how loud they are, but he knows how important her family is to her. Plus, he doesn't want her to get sick of him with just the two of them out here. Kate checks if he's sure, and Ryan insists he would love to have Kate's mom, and he trails off as he momentarily forgets her sister's name. Kate gently reminds him it's Alex, not thinking too much of it. Kate suggests inviting Ryan's mom over for Thanksgiving as well. He insists she won't come, though Kate thinks it's worth giving it a try. Ryan changes the subject, confirming whether Kate's family is coming, and Kate admits she called them the moment she left the room, as Ryan suspected. Her mother was busy, but she got onto Alex, who seemed very excited to have dinner with famous novelist Ryan Cole. Ryan rolls his eyes at that, and Kate reassures him her family likes him. Everything will be fine. Kate raves to her mom over the phone about how lovely the location is, and how much she's going to love it, when she suddenly hears something break and Ryan exclaims. She calls out to Ryan, rushing to tell her mother goodbye and carelessly dropping the phone's receiver as she runs over to check on her husband. She finds him wearing a grim expression, but when she tries to comfort him, he lashes out, turning his back on her. She tries to clean up the broken glass on the floor but accidentally cuts the process. Suddenly, Ryan reappears at her side, wondering how she cut her finger and springing into action to apply first aid, as though he has zero recollection of what just happened. Kate doesn't say anything as he bandages her finger, but her distraught expression tells Ryan all he needs to know. He pulls her close, apologizing for what happened, explaining he was in the pool just now. The sheriff visits the cabin the next day, asking to speak to Catherine. Ryan's confused when he answers the door but allows the officer in, fetching his wife. Officer Halloran introduces himself to Kate, stepping outside to speak with her. Catherine notices the phone's receiver on the ground, the busy tone echoing from it, and finally hangs the device up as Officer Halloran checks if she's alright, inquiring what happened to her finger. Ryan pops his head out to check that everything's alright, but the officer warns him to step back inside, needing to speak to Kate alone. Halloran's tone makes Kate wonder what this is about, and he reveals that Anthea Tate, Kate's mom, called the police after she heard the disturbance on phone and couldn't reach Kate after that. Kate's embarrassed and explains what happened last night to the officer, assuring him that Ryan would never hurt her and apologizing for the inconvenience. The officer laughs it off, reminding Kate to call her mother, which she does as soon as he leaves. Once off the phone, she returns to comfort Ryan, who's been terribly worried about the whole situation. Ryan takes a break from writing to reheat the cup of tea he forgot to drink, again. He finds Kate in the kitchen, making hand turkeys, and asks her to go for a walk. Kate's surprised. It must be really bad if he actively wants to go outside. She tells him to grab a bottle of wine, suggesting they find a lovely spot to drink it. Ryan and Kate hold hands as they stroll through the dry forest. They find a spot next to the river that allows them to bask in the sun, though it doesn't help much with the cold. They snuggle close together, sipping wine, and Kate remarks that these are the good times. Ryan's concerned about that notion because if these were the good times, what did they have to look forward to? He pulls the label off the wine, scribbling a message on the back of it. He wants to send the bottle out to sea so that no matter what happens, they'd always be out there in the world. Ryan seals up the bottle, and when he rises to throw it in, he stumbles a bit, claiming he got a head rush from standing too fast. Tossing the bottle in, he releases their love to the world, and the couple start hiking back to the cabin. On the way there, Ryan childishly bets Kate he can hit one of the pine cones out of the trees. He misses his first rock toss, but not accepting defeat, tries a second time, this time fatally injuring a nearby. Seeing the devastation he's caused, Ryan has a bit of a breakdown, comparing what he's done to the bird to what he's currently doing to his novel. This whole experience reinforces his earlier feelings about being a monster, complaining that he loved his novel till he pet it and stroked it lifeless, revealing that it's quite literally half of what it should be at 130 pages. Kate attempts to soothe him by offering support, reassuring him it's perfectly fine if his follow-up book is a brilliant novella instead of a novel, and that once he's said what he has to say, he shouldn't worry about others' opinions. The couple set up for Kate's family's arrival. Kate rushes to greet them when they pull up outside, and Ryan can hear their girlish screams from inside the cabin. He takes a moment to prepare himself for their high-energy personalities. He gives Anthea and Alex a quick hug before Kate whisks them away for a full tour of the cabin. The Tate family chat nonstop while Ryan sits silently in the middle of the barrage of female voices, trying and failing to tune them out. Eventually, he gets up to excuse himself. Kate and Anthea are so deep in conversation so they don't notice, but Alex does, silently slipping out of the room herself shortly after. Alex finds Ryan in his study, presenting him with a first edition copy of his book and asks if he could get him to sign it for her teacher. Ryan thumbs through the pages with a nostalgic look on his face and asks Alex for the name. She mistakenly thinks he's forgotten her name and mumbles an offhanded comment about how she'd heard he was forgetting things, but didn't think it was that bad. When Ryan clarifies he was talking about the name of her teacher, Alex is horribly embarrassed, begging him not to mention this to Kate or Anthea as she'd promised not to say anything. Ryan tries picking Alex's brain about what Kate said specifically, but she informs him that all she'd mentioned was being worried. Ryan signs the book for her, hoping it gets her an A. Alex is curious as to whether the contents of the book are true, if Ryan's parents truly were like happy, sad monsters under the bed, and he confirms that it's more like an acid trip version of real events. Alex had promised Kate she wouldn't read it, but she had no choice once it had been assigned, and Ryan makes her promise not to tell Kate about it. Kate's never read the book, and Ryan confesses he worked very hard to get all the dark things out of his head and locked in that novel, explaining that he wasn't very happy before meeting Kate. He doesn't want Kate to know the old version of him, the version in that book, but rather the happier, freer version that he is now. The version of him that loves her. Kate and Ryan fix their blow-up bed for the night, though they start fooling around like teenagers the second they're both on it. By morning, the bed is half deflated and Kate doesn't have far to roll before she reaches the floor. Ryan sits in a daze at the table as the Tates buzz around him, preparing for Thanksgiving. Kate tries snapping him out, suggesting he takes a cold shower to wake up more. Ryan sips from his teacup, hoping that will help get him back to his senses, but spits the tea out in disgust when he realizes it's cold. Anthea leads the family in saying grace, a job that Ryan speedily and happily relinquished to her. They all bow their heads and close their eyes, zoning into the prayer, all except Ryan, who seems to zone out again. After dinner, Anthea breaks out the massive sketchpad for their yearly tradition of Pictionary, intent on finally dethroning the reigning champions, Ryan and Kate. The game goes on as it usually does until on one particular turn, Ryan struggles guessing the author of Watership Down. He frowns deeply, getting considerably more irritated as the harder he tries to remember it, the less he seems to know. He suddenly has an outburst of rage, cursing and flinging his cup. Kate immediately gets up to check on him, but Anthea insists she knows when a boy needs a mother, volunteering to go instead. Ryan apologizes to Anthea for his outburst, but she insists she's more concerned with how he's doing than that. Ryan finally admits he's not sure if he's okay, expressing that it's as though he can feel his mind slowly slipping away, and he's afraid that one day, everything will trickle off and be gone. Anthea wonders if he's tried prayer, and he tries not to scoff, admitting he's happy her faith sustains her, but that it doesn't work that way for him, mumbling something in German. Anthea insists she wants to pray for him anyways, and Ryan allows her to do her worst. She places her hands on his head, whispering spirited prayers to God to protect and heal Ryan's mind. When Anthea returns to her daughters, she announces that she and Alex will be leaving in the morning so that Ryan and Kate can go back to having quiet time. Anthea stresses to Kate that she needs to get some help for Ryan, insisting that if Ryan won't go to a physician, they have one make a house call. Before leaving, Anthea mentions the German phrase Ryan spoke of, and Kate informs her it's a quote from one of Rilke's Duino elegies. The next morning, Anthea hugs Ryan goodbye, reminding him that she'll keep praying for him. Ryan insists Anthea save her prayers for Kate, not for him. Kate bids her family goodbye, returning to a very apologetic Ryan. She cheers him up with the prospect of second breakfast. Kate finds Ryan standing at the sink, in a daze yet again when he suddenly asks her how he makes tea, as though he's forgotten. First, she jokes about him always making it too bitter by steeping it too long. But when she realizes that's not ringing any bells, she reminds him that you need to use a tea ball. Ryan snaps into action as though he's recalled the process of making tea suddenly, and Kate wonders why the writing isn't going well. Ryan compares the slump after producing a great novel to the feeling of release one experiences after sex, suggesting it's difficult for him to want to immediately get back up and get into another round. With no more explanation than that, he returns to his office to continue working, and Kate eyes the cup of tea he just made and forgot on the counter. Kate wakes to the sound of Ryan groaning, as though in pain while in his sleep. She whispers softly to him, petting his head, slowly soothing the nightmares away. While setting up the mousetraps, Kate notices it's terribly chilly inside. Following the draft, she's led into Ryan's office where she finds he's left the window open while obsessively working on the novel. As the window snaps shut, Ryan jumps up, as if snapping out of a trance, suddenly wondering why it's freezing inside. Kate points out the window, and again, Ryan makes the excuse of being absorbed by work. As Kate serves him some tea to warm up, she asks about him seeing a doctor for the memory issues. But stubborn as ever, Ryan keeps insisting he's fine. At night, Ryan's groaning and whimpering returns, sounding worse and more horrific than the night before. Kate soothes him again, but her worry is growing. During breakfast, Ryan hears a car pull into the driveway, and Kate admits it's probably Dr. Taylor. She'd called him, and Ryan's obviously unhappy about it. He tries hiding in the study to avoid it, but Kate begs him to do this. For her, she wants to help him out of the pool, but Ryan thinks they're past the pool now. Ryan returns to the office after speaking with Dr. Taylor, informing Kate that now it's her turn. The doctor gingerly chooses his words as he informs Kate that after observing Ryan and learning his family history, he's surmised that Ryan has Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. It's an extremely rare disease caused by a buildup of abnormal prions in the brain which destroys nerves in the brain over time. Dr. Taylor has to repeat himself to a shell-shocked Kate, explaining that there are no treatments or cures available for this disease, and with how aggressive and fast acting it is. They have very limited time together. Kate is stuck in the denial phase of grief, insisting it must be something else, but Dr. Taylor assures her. The combination of symptoms coupled with the fact that Ryan's father passed from this disease are more than enough for a diagnosis. Kate's confused concerning the bit about Ryan's father, claiming Ryan's father perished in a car accident, and quickly realizing Ryan lied to her. Kate's world is turned upside down as she realizes Ryan knew he might have gotten sick and still lied to her. But Dr. Taylor reins her in, asking if she'd have done anything differently if she'd known beforehand. Would she have not fallen for or loved Ryan if she knew he was sick the whole time? Dr. Taylor confesses he'd tried to convince Ryan to get tested before, but Ryan insisted he didn't want to know. He wanted to live life normally. Kate's lost on what to do next, and the only thing Dr. Taylor can tell her is how the symptoms will progress. He'll continue losing memory and motor function, experiencing mood swings. Kate considers a hospital, but the most advanced treatment available would take a week or two. Considering Ryan has under 3 months left, Dr. Taylor recommends the couple stay together and make the most of their remaining time. Ryan finds Kate curled in a ball on the couch, sitting next to her. The two look into each other's eyes, having been together so long they can communicate telepathically. They exchange all the feelings that words can't verbalize for a moment before tightly embracing, as if they were trying to hold each other together. Kate can't sleep that night, deeply troubled by the impending loss of the love of her life. She calls Anthea, giving her the news between her sobs. She paces in the kitchen, unable to stop herself from crying and taking her frustration out on the perfect pair of chicken ornaments on the dining table. Kate checks on Ryan's progress, bringing him the lunch he forgot to have. Ryan hopes this final book will make enough money for her to live comfortably when he's gone, asking her to make sure to send it to Jackson when he can no longer work on it. Ryan puts on his PJs, trying to hide the fact that he's losing the motor skills to button his shirt. As he and Kate exchange their usual witty banter, Ryan leans himself against the dresser to hide his shaking fingers and lack of balance. The symptoms are visibly getting worse. Ryan sits like a zombie at the table, even after Kate serves him his breakfast. His finger twitches as he tries to recall how to hold a spoon. Kate exclaims when she realizes they've caught a mouse in one of their traps, but she's far too squeamish to dispose of the body. Ryan still has enough of himself left to be her knight in shining armor, getting rid of the mouse himself but fumbling the thing's corpse a little in the process. He and Kate try to spend as much time as they can together, and while curled up reading, Ryan recalls a memory of them curled up in a similar way on a park bench in front of Kate's dorm when they just started dating. She jokes about how she'd hooked up with him on the first night they met because she'd liked his story in the Let journal. Ryan admits he couldn't believe how easy it was. The next day, they were snuggled on the bench, reading together, just as they are now. The memory brings tears to Kate's eyes, but that night, she can't sleep at all, holding her pillow and wailing muffled sobs into it as she watches Ryan be slowly consumed by his disease in his sleep, helpless to halt its progression. Ryan asks Kate to send the story off to Jackson immediately, unable to trust himself to not go back to it and keep fixing until it's ruined. He claims it's the best he'll get it to be, and has Kate email his agent as soon as possible. Kate looks around for Ryan, finding him at the kitchen table, his fingers lightly playing in sand. She tries to talk to him, but Ryan's like a robot with a glitch, empty and twitching. Kate can't bear to see the haunted shell he's becoming, and as she feels herself about to cry again, leaves Ryan alone at the table and heads to bed. Kate, startled out of sleep by a loud thud. Running out of bed to the kitchen, she finds Ryan fallen over on the floor. She helps him up, carrying him to bed, but the next morning, he's not much different. Ryan calls out for Kate and she finds him in his office, pointing suspiciously at his computer, mentioning there's a PDF there that wasn't there before. He asks Kate if she sent her story off and she admits she did, reminding him that he'd asked her to send it to Jackson. Ryan flies into a rage, claiming he never asked her to do that she's ruined everything, and smashing his precious typewriter in the process. Kate looks at the broken parts on the floor, desperately trying to put them back together, to no avail, just like with Ryan. It's getting harder and harder for Kate to cope as time goes on. Not only does she not sleep in the bed with Ryan anymore, but now, she barely sleeps at all, spending her nights outside on the porch curled up with the phone. Every day, she has to steel herself to return to caring for Ryan, and she's steadily losing motivation to do so as the man she truly loves feels like he's almost completely gone. Gently waking Ryan, who at this point is completely verbally unresponsive, she puts his coat on him. Kate sits next to him, whispering a story about a brave knight named Tristan who was sworn to a king. Tristan was sent to a far-off land and he won the heart of a beautiful princess named Isolda for his king. But on the journey home, Tristan and Isolda drank a potion that bound their hearts and souls together. They were desperately in love, but since Isolda belonged to the king, they could never truly be together until they perished, and 2 trees grew out of their graves so entwined, they could never be separated. She holds Ryan tightly, sure that even though he can't verbalize it, he knows exactly what the story means. For a brief moment, Ryan's eyes gloss over with tears and the poet's soul peers out through his slowly deteriorating shell. Dr. Taylor's voice interrupts the couple, asking if Ryan is ready. Ryan doesn't nod but stands, being led away by Dr. Taylor. Kate is devastated as he lets go of her hand, and finally, the crushing grief washes over her.